families can be together forever through Heavenly Father's plan. Families can be together forever through Heavenly Father's plan.
Anybody else when I think about you?
Travis Wayne Goodsell. Just did recently I did the Divinal song as in the other video here, so I'm rocking out to that. Chris Hayes is just rehashing a summary of today's trial, so I get more time to spend with you guys, as you guys all love me, don't you? Yeah, you guys still love the Mike Lee Spasm video. But it's slowing down because it's at 132 views, yet analytics is now overcompensating, projecting that it's supposed to be at 136 views. Analytical programs suck. All businesses should delete them. But ex-Mormon grooming scandal. I got to bring up that old Mormon video for you in that one, and one Mormon doesn't like it, even though I'm talking about ex-Mormons. Silly Mormons. But in this one, I'm going to go over my 2 divorces. See, I'm supposed to have polygamous relationships. Mormon. I'm a bad Mormon. I failed on that. I did have a subscriber raised from the dead who's asking some more questions, and I've been replying to him. Here's a quote for the day for you. The truth is never popular unless you are brainwashed. Hold on a second while I read it. Maybe I'll use some of it else, use some other parts if necessary. Some inside Mormon jokes, or ex-Mormon jokes. Hold on a second while I go to the video and put the thumbs up and a heart on this one. Alrighty. Where was I? Oh yes, divorced. Look, another one gets added. My goodness. Alrighty. So, yeah, I divorced twice, which means the number 1 cause of divorce is marriage. Now, everybody knows that joke, right? I didn't botch it this time. So, the woman formerly called my second ex had asked me in the marriage, because for some reason she can never accept my answers. I don't know, you'll have to ask her. Which is not a good thing to do. You don't want exes talking to each other, or wife talking to the ex. Especially when the ex is a vindictive liar, pants on fire face. Because the woman formerly called the first ex had to give her consent to my marrying a second time, as I didn't have to give consent for hers, as I already dealt with that with our sealing cancellation. So I still find it kind of strange that they didn't, but then they changed the rules so that the second ex, I had to get her consent, because previously the man never got consent from the previous wife. It was just a previous wife that had to get consent with the previous husband. But that wasn't done in my case on both accounts. So she had sent a letter to the bishop saying how she was happy for me and blah blah blah, that I'm moving on. Oh yay. 2 decades, remember? Finally moving on. Yeah, well, she got sealed like soon after our sealing cancellation, but it wasn't, the sealing cancellation wasn't for the marriage. Still a year or so later, as he was working in America trying to claim my kids on the taxes. So I reported him as a tax fraud, and he lost his job, but then they screwed me over, so I didn't get to claim my kids anymore. But yeah, she told the bishop everything was fine, but then she sent a secret letter to the first presidency and lied. He owes child support, and I'm sure he's into porn. So, yeah, I had to provide documentation to the bishop. God. So, yeah, they immediately accepted our the second sealing, as we were sealed in the Salt Lake Temple, room number 13, and then had our infamous wedding picture taken at the door of the temple, and Donna, our Relief Society president, made sure to get the whole door in, as I don't know about the rest of you who get sealed in the Salt Lake Temple. If you're photographers, make sure to get the whole door in, because you got to get that keystone. And so, yeah, when I found out that the church has inverted pentagrams on temples, I went, wait a minute. I got sealed in that temple. Sure enough, confirmed. Inverted pentagram of Lucifer. And so in the church, we learn all about agency, because Lucifer wants to take away agency and force everybody into a happy life in the highest degree of the celestial kingdom. Moses chapter 4, verses 1 through 4. Whereas Heavenly Father's plan is, yeah, you drink and be merry, but you may not reach the highest degree of the celestial kingdom. I have these other kingdoms for you instead. But Mormons can't handle that these days, because, well, they follow the inverted pentagram god, and so they take away agency. But me, being a Mormon, born and raised, I thought I was supposed to give agency to people, not try to take it away. So I was never put into any leadership position. I was a bad Mormon. And so when I got married the first time around, and even the second time around, I gave my wives agency. They both were waiting for me to give them orders as to what to do. That's not our religion. What are you doing? Well, no. I'm not going to order you around. You are independent woman. You have your agency. But the cause of the divorce was my giving them their agency. Because they then, having free agency, chose to do what is wrong and let the consequences follow. The first ex was literally, mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, sexually abusive. That's how she chose to use her agency. She purposely tortured me. She later on confessed that she was trying to get me to divorce her. As became evident, she had to resort to doing it herself, as I found a book on Mormon divorces lying on our bed when I got home from work one day. And I knew that my suspicions were confirmed. But she also was a literal prostitute, which not cool, because she ended up with all this money when I was the sole breadwinner. She would never explain where she got it from. She had been trying to become a book publisher, but she was unsuccessful. She kept getting rejections. As I had found a letter addressed to her in her maiden name. And I'm like, why is your maiden name on this? And so, of course, as innocent people do, they lash out in anger to victim blame the person who's just asking a question. And so yes, it was a relief, literally, a big weight I felt lifted off of me when I got over the shock. But yeah, I came home from work to find that our car was all packed up, and her father had come down. He got divorced. Well, her mother divorced him, so it runs in the family. And so he came down with her sister, who actually is more attractive. But too late. Already made my decision before meeting the sister. But she had just gotten back from her mission in Taiwan, and away they went with our kids. She said her kids. Her kids are not going to learn Hebrew. That was her reasoning for leaving, as her vocal reason. Because I had just barely deciphered Paleo-Hebrew that February, and so April she was gone after conference. Yeah, I guess conference inspired her to separate the family rather than the family proclamation, which my mom used on me. My mom blamed me for her leaving. Again, I gave her her agency, and that's what she chose to do. The marriage, I have come to learn in my great wisdom as an old man now, is where you're supposed to choose to love your spouse. You're not supposed to pursue your own career. You're not supposed to pursue your own interests and desires. You chose to be married. It's all about uniting and becoming one with this person you chose to be married to. But in both cases, when you give a woman her agency, she chooses otherwise. So if you're unfamiliar with the old temple text, no, not the one before 2019, the one before that, the one that was changed in 1991. I went through it to go on my mission to New York, New York, in the Salt Lake Temple. So it was the big old room and the one big veil. And so there I am among, could be 1,000. I mean, it was massive from what I remember. Maybe not 1,000, maybe 500, maybe 300. But yeah, they had to bring in extra chairs for people to sit on in the aisles. And it was an overflow session when I went. And there I am going through it, and they're talking about how I'm being warned in the beginning. Are you sure you want to do this? If you want to back out now, now's the time. Otherwise, it's too late. And I'm going, should I? Well, there's too many people around, and my parents are here, and this is, I don't know. What have I done wrong? And so, yeah, then I'm going through the session, and I don't really pay too much attention to the woman's parts. I'm trying to take it all in because it's overwhelming information. It's all new stuff. You are not allowed to know what goes on in the temple, and so you have to go to the temple to find out, and because it's a sacred secret. and so the part about obeying your husband, it really didn't apply to me because I wasn't married. But yeah, that was a part of it. Women are supposed to obey their husbands. And Benson was the one who changed it in 91 to hearken unto the counsel of your husband as he hearkens unto the counsel of the Father. And then Nelson did a little con job. He had women no longer obey their husbands, and now they obey God. So, but the law of chastity got changed by Nelson, where those to whom you are legally and lawfully wedded appear according to his law. What's his law? You mean section 132? It's the only one that talks about marriage now that you took out Joseph Smith's 2 chapters about monogamy. 10 virgins in 132. And so the first woman formerly called my first ex, as well as the woman formerly called my second ex, knew of, well, the second ex actually went through before 91 with her first husband. So she'd been divorced previously. And so she had to get permission from her husband to get a sealing cancellation because they're still married. It's just not recognized as a civil marriage. And so the United States doesn't care. And they should care, because the church is still practicing what's called bigamy instead of polygamy. But that's another issue. Yeah, the woman formerly called the first ex, her parents made sure to enlighten her on all things prior to 1991, that she's supposed to obey me, and her mother started going down the dark side of the force. Kind of sad situation, because again, the same mistakes. She was given agency by her husband, divorced during our marriage, and then she takes her free agency to go to a bar, picks up a guy, takes him to her home, and then she says no. And so it doesn't justify it, but yeah, she got raped. But I mean, she led the guy on just because she had no clue how the world operates. The guy was totally expecting that he was going to get some that night, because That's what it means when you take somebody home from a bar. And she decided to say, nope. So, yeah, sad situation. But the second ex, likewise, constantly asking, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? Do what you want to do. And she was constantly, she knew that she was supposed to try to become one with me, because she was constantly judging me to remind me that I'm supposed to care for her well-being, which means no sex. Oh, women, why do you torture us so? And so, yeah, she had gotten so suspicious that if I were to ever talk to somebody else, and I was involved with other women as the neighborhood watch president, and at church you have to talk to people like the Relief Society president, and yet she's jealous about me talking business with other people. She's expecting me not to talk with people. I'm sorry, Relief Society president, I can't talk to you about a certain family because my wife may find out that we were talking. And my having deciphered Paleo-Hebrew and having deciphered Egyptian petroglyphs, as I'm in the process of publishing, now that Amazon made it available for me to do, made her uncomfortable because she didn't understand it and believes that only Nelson can be a translator, and here I am showing up President Monson, because Monson hadn't died yet, and how dare I, and she just couldn't handle it. The concept of the ancient religious practices, and trying not to tell her because she would freak out if I said, well, Joseph Smith's church wasn't the same as ours, and ours is supposed to be a restoration of the Egyptian religion, not the Gospels religion. And how do you do that? How do you explain to her the passages about the Mormon church supposed to be more in line with the House of Israel religion rather than the Gospels Christian religion? And that means that the concept of a man like Moses in 103:16 needs to be understood in the concept of the Israelite religion, not the Christian one. And so, yeah, it was too much for her to bear, and she had help with the bishop and her sister, and she couldn't handle it and left. So, yeah, you give women their agency, and they leave you. So that's my divorce experiences. But yeah, I hear it all the time. Women will ask, well, what did you do wrong? What do you mean, what did I do wrong? I gave them their agency. I guess that's what I did wrong. I should take away their agency, make them sex slaves. And that'll teach them. Yeah, I'm not into that either. So that's the sad tale of me. Put a quarter in the jukebox and we'll both forget about it. That's my theme song. Check for it in the description page section.